Alright everybody, hello, I'm Sable Dragon Rook, you can call me Sable. I'm a competitive Last Guardian speedrunner, so welcome to the beginner's guide for this game. If you clicked on this video, you're probably trying to do one of two things. Either you're trying to get the Lightning Emissary trophy for finishing the game in less than 5 hours, or you're trying to learn the speedrun. Excuse me. Either way, this guide is going to be for you. It works for both. So just a few things that I want to say before we get started. Give me just a minute here. The timing requirements for a speedrun and for the Lightning Emissary trophy are a bit different. So Lightning Emissary folks, you're going to have an easier time because timing stops for you during cutscenes and some of the in-game moments and activities that we're going to be doing. So as far as we're aware, the in-game time does stop if you pause, but it's best to dashboard to your PlayStation 4 menu, like out of the game, just in case you have to take a break. You don't want to be spending time on accident. For speedrunners, timing is never paused, so it begins when you hit the button to start the new game, which here from this title screen we are just going to say new game. If you're not starting from this particular title screen, when it says would you like to begin the game again, that's when timing starts. And then it ends when you hit the Master of the Valley with lightning. So the second thing, if you've ever watched a Last Guardian speedrun from one of the top few runners, you'll notice that it's very slightly different from what you're going to see here. What I'm going to do here is give you a guide that's easy to follow and will get you through the game with a solid time. Probably in the 340s, high 330s maybe if you do really well. So we're going to prioritize accessibility over world record level tech. So that means a couple things. First of all, it means fewer resets. A lot of the time you can actually reset a checkpoint to get Trico to come closer to you so that you don't have to wait on him. The problem is that nothing in the game actually tells you that you've hit a checkpoint, so it's entirely memorization, and it's a lot of memorization. If you mess it up, if you don't stand exactly in the right spot or whatever, you'll have to play the entire section over again. So to make things easier, with honestly very little loss in time, we're only going to be doing the most important resets where waiting for Trico would cost you a lot of time. We're also going to be using safer strats. I'll point out the risky strategies as we go for the speedrunners who are here, but I will show you how to complete the game quickly without them. Unless you're going for the world record, quite honestly, you don't need a lot of these strats. They take a lot of practice for a low chance of success. So in other words, there's high odds that you spend more time trying to do them than actually solving the puzzle the intended way. And they're just not worth it when you're starting out with a speedrun or you're just trying to get the Lightning Emissary trophy. I've had a ton of people ask me, like, how do I do White Tower? I'm trying to get the Lightning Emissary. Don't do White Tower if you're going to just try to get Lightning Emissary. There's so many other things that you can do instead. So you'll find that despite me stopping to explain things and using these safer strats, we're going to come in with a very solid time with relatively minimal effort. If I could ever clear my throat enough to speak, boy. So, with that being said, let's get going. Let me just pull up my splits. Well, my timer. And we'll get going. For the sake of speed running only, we're going to be skipping cutscenes. As far as we are aware, these cutscenes will not count for your in-game time. So if you're just doing the Lightning Emissary trophy, it's probably safe to watch the cutscenes. That being said, if you've already played the game before and you know what the cutscenes are, it's probably fine to skip them. Like, you've seen them already, you're not really going to miss anything, you know? And I only say that because we're not completely sure that the cutscenes don't count. There's no way to actually test the in-game time, you know? So that's why we don't know for sure. All we can do is just run it consistently and see when we do or don't get the trophy. There's a couple ways you can do this barrel puzzle. This is the way that I tend to do it during a speed run, because Trico takes so long to eat these barrels anyway that, it's not a super big deal that, for example, I didn't bring this one over to him first. Really important that you get those barrels down into the groove that's built into the ground for him. If they're right on the edge, he'll either kind of not realize that he can eat them, or he'll try to eat them and miss. So we do need to get it down into this little tiled section. Trico can still spit out these barrels even when he's two, like, maunches in. So make sure that you stay away from him until he's at least gripped it in his mouth twice. Or he will just spit it out, even if it looks like it's already exploded. So 1, 2, and then we're safe to go towards him. We're actually going to take off this collar now, instead of a little bit later. You're supposed to take it off after you take his spear off, but there's no real reason not to do it this way. So any of these in-game cutscenes that we can't skip, Lightning Emissary people, these are not going to be counting for your time. So timing is stopped for you. Obviously you see I still have the timer going, so for speedrun people, this still counts. There's nothing we can do about it, except for just sit here and wait. Under 5 minutes before you have control of the boy is a good benchmark for seeing, you know, if you just kind of want to start the run over here at the beginning. If you're under 5 minutes here, you had a pretty solid start to the game. A lot of this game is going to be spam calling Trico. He's not going to listen right away because he still has his armor on and he needs to shake it off. That happens faster because we pulled the lever, you know, before the cutscene instead of right now. But a lot of the game is definitely spam calling Trico to get him to you, you know, as fast as possible. Especially in the early game when we don't have commands. We really just need to position him by having him be interested in us. That being said, there are going to be a couple times, and I'll point them out of course, where you do not want to be spam calling Trico because it'll get him, you know, into the wrong position. Don't worry about where you put this barrel. It can go anywhere just as long as it's out of your way. So we'll go ahead and grab this. Whether you're doing a speedrun or you're doing the Lightning Emissary trophy, odds are you've played this game before, so you know what this mirror does. And for the rest of the run, we will be calling it the mirror, so that we're clear what we're talking about. You guys might be able to hear the dog in the background. He's dreaming. He's like dream barking. So while this cutscene plays, a little bit of sort of not game related suggestions. Sit in a position that is comfortable for you for approximately 4 hours, you know? Make sure that you start in a position that you're probably not going to have to take a break from. I tend to want to start cross-legged, but then my legs fall asleep and I get distracted. Bring some food. 4 hours doesn't really seem like a long time until you realize that for most people that's the length between breakfast and lunch. As soon as we see Trico's head pop around there, we're safe to start to do this. If you try to hold the mirror up earlier, before you can see Trico, there's a chance that he just won't ever shoot. He'll just never come to you. Because when you hold the mirror up, Trico will stop walking in order for his tail to start finding the mirror. And so you can actually stop him far enough back that he can't see you or the wall, and so nothing will ever happen. You are really safest to wait until Trico can see you. Go to the edge here, wait for the boy to wobble, and then this is going to be one of the resets that we do. Trico's going to be right behind us now. See, he's just right here. So we didn't have to wait for him to walk all the way down that hallway. And we aren't going to be doing too many of those resets in the game, but that certainly was one of the bigger ones to get him to come close to us. You can do jumps up the chain if you would like. Just depends on what makes you more comfortable. We are going to go behind this box and push it. We're not going to pull it because, you know, for obvious reasons, the boy will go off the cliff before the box does if we pull it. But that's basically the only exception. Any other time that we have something that we need to push or pull, when possible, we're going to pull it. This game works much better with pulling than it does with pushing. You have a lot more control and it goes a little bit faster. So Trico wants this barrel. This is what's going to cause him to come down from the cliff. We're going to try to wedge it back in this corner where he can't get it. That's alright. Specifically so that he has to come and kind of stand here and not be able to get it, so that we have time to do what we're trying to do here. Unfortunately, I kind of threw that in a weird spot, but it's fine. He's still going a little crazy, but he is standing here. Just because we want to get up on here without him, we don't want to wait for him to jump up. So by throwing that barrel where he can't get it, he's forced to stand there and just let us do our thing. All you need to do is get down here for this cutscene to trigger. That's the only thing that's required. And when he hops down, you don't have to follow him. You can. No matter what you do, you'll end up in the same position after the checkpoint. So you can follow him if you want. So as this cutscene plays, let me get back real quick to things I was saying, you know, sort of outside the run. Make sure you have food, like I was saying. 4 hours is kind of a long time. I tend to have like protein shakes because they're easy to just sip on the side and they give me energy. There will be a point that I will point out later that's a good break time if you need to get up, go to the bathroom, stretch, whatever. I'll point that out when we get to it. So along the side here, you can crouch down if you want to go just a little bit faster. Don't call Trico. It's important that you don't call Trico, because we want him to follow us a little bit more slowly than he would normally. Okay, or, you know, we'll just fall down and have to start that over. It happens. It's actually kind of common to take deaths in this particular section. Not usually for that reason, but that's not super uncommon anyway. But it's no big deal. I mean, if you fall, if you die, it's odds are if you're trying to go fast, it's gonna happen. You know, if you're trying to go for, what's the trophy? Untouchable? Where, you know, you don't die, that's probably best saved for a separate playthrough than Lightning Emissary, where you can be a little bit more cautious. Speedrunners, if you die, the time loss is not typically, you know, something that would cause you to reset. Alright, so we're gonna run over to this second orb thing and then point the mirror. That way we'll be pretty near where this thing is gonna fall down. Alright, so we'll use that little crack there to climb up. Point the camera down so that we can run down it just a little bit faster than if the camera was pointed straight ahead. And now again, do not call Trico, because we want him to be far away from us right now. We're gonna squeak around these corners, and then as soon as we come up to this corner up here, right here, then we can start calling Trico. The reason that we want to wait so long is because, as you see, he's on this pillar and he's ready to jump because he didn't follow us very closely. If he had followed us a bit closer, he would have already been down a lot further, and he would have had to completely turn around, go back to the pillar, turn around again, and then climb up. So we intentionally had him go slow there so that he would not take so much time later. Because if we had called his name, he would have tried to follow us all the way into here and stuck his head through these holes. And obviously that's a lot of waiting for him to go from there all the way back to that pillar. So over to here. If you're having trouble, you saw that I just missed that jump straight up. If you're having trouble with getting the boy to grab things that are above him, stop pushing the forward button and just hit the jump button. Sometimes pushing forward is what causes him to sort of get stuck in the wall. If you feel confident, you can take this jump. If you're afraid of falling, you know, it only costs a couple seconds to slide across like normal. So we'll start calling for Trico, start to get his attention so he can get ready for this jump. Speedrunners would likely do a reset here, but the reset point is a little bit unclear, so we're not going to risk that. We're not going to risk having to climb this entire wall again. So again, you know, that's cutting down on the risky strategies that really don't save that much time. You know, we probably lost 15-20 seconds to waiting for him. That's not a big deal. So we're going to go a bit far away from Trico so that he feels like he has incentive, you know, to come towards us. If you stay too close to him, sometimes he can, you know, just get sort of content and be like, I can see you, I don't need to follow you, no big deal. So you need to make sure in situations like this that you stay a little bit farther away from him so that he does actually have incentive to come and follow you. The first time that I played through this game, this area was a little bit confusing, so just in case you haven't noticed, it's shaped like a U with this wall in the middle of the U shape. That way you don't get lost or don't, you know, forget which side of it you're on. Trico is being a little bit of a goober. That's okay. Trico being a goober is kind of factored into the time that we expect to get, so no worries. It happens. And if you are trying to do a speed run where Trico doesn't ever act like a goober, you're gonna be running until the end of time. Like, it happens. Now it seems like we've gotten his attention. Hi, buddy. He's just happy to be outside. Now, because we don't have commands for Trico yet, all of the times that he jumps or does, you know, specific actions are going to be because he's standing in the right spot and I'm standing in the right spot. So for him, he needs to be as close to this wall as we can get him, as close to, you know, the big wall that he needs to jump over. And then I need to be not on his arm. Anywhere on his body, like here, and you see that he started his animation for starting the jump. So those are the requirements. He needs to be close to the wall. The boy needs to essentially be on his back. Now you can go ahead and start to climb forward, like onto his face, or onto his neck, even onto like his leg. Anywhere that's not on his back is fine. Because as soon as his head comes close to the ground here, you're going to hit the X button to drop off of him and land on the ground. That saves just a little bit of time from having to jump off of his back. Then of course we're going to get rid of this because he won't move if that is still there. Unfortunately, there is no reset here. This would be a great place to do one if we had one. You know, a reset to pull him closer to us, but unfortunately there isn't one. So we're going to stand over here to try to get him to step over this railing, just because having him stand on that railing is really annoying. You know, just trying to mash him as close to this wall as possible. Now here, aim sideways so that you're a little bit further over on the ledge than you would be if you just jumped straight across. Saves a couple seconds of shimmying. And just because this one's easy, as soon as you pull this lever down and see the door start to move, you can go ahead and reset. That one's easy to remember. It's unlikely you'll mess it up, so we can go ahead and do that one. Give Trico just a couple seconds here to be able to see you, and then you're good to start shooting this. And again, there is a reset here for speedrunners, but it's a little finicky with exactly where you have to be standing, so we're not going to do it. I've found that the fastest way to get Trico down here is to stand here in the middle and call him for a little while, and then to sort of head over here to this pile of rocks and call him for a little while. Make sure you keep calling him, or he'll just kind of stand there forever. Now there is a secondary reason that we did go stand on this pile of rocks. And that's because when this cutscene is over, that's exactly where Trico's face is going to be facing. You'll see that I'm lined up directly with the front of his face here in a second. And the reason we want that is because Trico doesn't have to do any hops, you know, any sort of repositioning in order to eat us. So that's the fastest way that we can do this. So trigger a cutscene that we're going to go ahead and skip. And like I said before, Lightning Emissary people, if you're feeling particularly brave, you know, go ahead and watch the cutscenes, because we think that they don't count. We know that the in-game ones, the ones that you can't skip, don't count. So we're kind of using that to say that the skippable ones also don't count, but the fact that they are skippable means that they might. We are unsure. Alright, so we're going to head around Trico, hop up on his tail, and start making our way down this puzzle. If you find, you see that the boy kind of didn't climb there for a minute. If you find that you're trying to climb and the boy just stops and refuses to go, it's probably your camera. Try shifting your camera, and then he'll probably start moving again. The other alternative reason that maybe the boy is not moving is because he's stuck on a seam in Trico's body. That happens a lot if you're trying to move, like, from his arm to his body, or from his leg to his body. So sometimes you might have to go a little bit to the side to get around that seam. So we know all about these guys because they are going to show up for the rest of the run. There is a skip here that speedrunners can do, and I will show you how to do it. But that doesn't mean that you should necessarily try to do it. So, Trico really likes these helmets on these soldiers. That's what he gets angry at. You think that he's angry at the soldiers, but actually he's just angry at their helmets. So once the soldiers explode, the thing that he is focused on attacking is their helmets. We can use that to our advantage. So we're going to watch how Trico fights, and if we have the opportunity, we're going to throw some helmets in the room up ahead to force Trico to go into that room, because he likes them and he will follow them. Now, the difference, right, between when you will and will not do this, when Trico's fighting on the bridge, if he doesn't leave you any helmets, you know, if he knocks all the people off the bridge, you don't really have a choice. You have to solve this the normal way. which would just be waiting for Trico to fight these guys and then petting him to calm him down. That's a fine way to solve this puzzle. But I'll try to show you the other way that we can do it. So we'll stand over here and we'll watch what Trico does. So Trico's gonna grab this guy that may or may not leave a helmet. It did not, because he, you know, just sort of flew off the side. That guy's off the side. No helmet. That guy left a helmet. So we can grab this. And we're gonna take that helmet and take it in here and just chuck it into the back of the room. So you see, Trico came in here because, oh, he hates these helmets. He's so angry. And we want him to be angry in this room. That's good. The camera can certainly be a nightmare in here, but you see, if we climb up to his back while he's in here, we can hop over to here, and we'll already be up top. And we can start to climb this. So that's the speedrunner's way to do it. That's the faster way to do it. If you have to pet Trico and then get him to stick his head through the hole, that's also fine. It's realistically a difference of about 45 seconds. So, you know, it's not going to completely kill you. But it is nice when you can get that to happen. So again, you know, to summarize, Trico goes after helmets. And if you can get helmets into that room by picking them up while he's still fighting, he will go into that room, and then you can climb up onto his back and get up into the scaffolding before, we'll go ahead and reset here. This is an easy reset. You can climb up onto his back before you need to calm him down. So the reset here is just, as soon as you hop out of the well, as soon as you touch down into this grassy stuff, go ahead and reset. Now another note about that trick that I just did with the helmets. Part of what makes it challenging is that, number one, Trico might not leave you any helmets, and then you don't have a choice. You have to go and pet him, you know. The other thing is that he might leave you too many helmets. If he leaves like all of the helmets on the bridge, you're not going to be able to get all of them into that room before he's done with the fight. And if there's any left on the bridge, he'll get angry at those instead, and he won't go into the room like you want him to. So essentially, he'll get angry at the closest helmet, and if that happens to be on the bridge instead of in the room, you know, you kind of can't do that trick anymore. So Trico has to do this. He has to kind of do the zoomies. We're just going to kind of let him do that. He's going to go and run down, which he already did, and now he's going to run towards us. At this point, we can go ahead and get on him. He's going to turn and kind of do a circle around this pillar. We're in no real rush to be on his head, because he still has plenty of time. He's always going to turn around, and he's always going to look at this white tower and shout at it for a while. Nothing we can do about it. Alright, so now he's going to turn around and start to try to progress to the next area. My suggestion, whether you are a speedrunner or a lightning emissary person, is to get up onto his head, wait for him to hop up to here, and then just launch yourself off and splat right onto the ground. As soon as you touch the ground, you can go ahead and reset. And that's going to start you right here. Trico's going to be down, and he's going to be ready to help you solve this puzzle. Pull this to the middle. You'll see that there are actually little things here like this and this that are stopping it from rolling in either direction. You see that there's also some like right here. That's how you can tell that you're in the middle. So make sure that you roll that into the middle in such a way that it's not going to roll, you know, back. so that Trico is sticking his head in the middle hole and we can get over to these vines. Instead of climbing down ladders, you can just hold the X button and that will cause the boy to drop. That's what I did there in order to drop quickly off of that ladder. But be careful, because if you drop too far, you know the boy's gonna break his leg. So you can't just, you know, skip all ladders by just dropping straight down. So we're going to go as far away from Trico as we can. Again, like I said before, we want him to feel the need to follow us. To be like, wait, where did my human go? Oh boy, I need to catch up. That's going to prompt him to come over here. Wait for Trico to flap his wings. You're going to be able to see before you start going back. If you come close to him too quickly, he will actually be like, oh, my human's here, that's fine. And then he'll stop jumping. Little boy, let go of the vines. Alright, so as soon as you can walk on Trico there, make sure that you hop over and get up here sort of as quickly as you can. Trico will not hesitate to leave you behind in this section. So just get on him and get to the center of his back as soon as you can. I am not doing a very good job of that. The reason you want to be in the center of his back is because with the collision that's in this tiny hallway, if you're on the sides, you can get stuck on the architecture and it'll pull you off of Trico and he'll leave without you. So try to be in the center of his back for this section as much as possible. So again, we're going to have a pre-scripted thing that we can't skip through here, so we're just going to let Trico do his thing. And while we do that, I am going to readjust the size of my timer because I see that it is going to be a smidge too big to fit the time. There we go. So he's going to roll around in this water, and then he's going to look up and see the enemy Trico for the first time. So you see, he's looking up, and she's just chilling up there. Once that happens, we can start to head this way. Trico's still going to be angry for a little bit, but if we start calling him, he will eventually pay attention. So we just completed that puzzle with the helmets, which is where the game teaches you to pet Trico to calm him down. Going forward, like if you fail to do the helmet trick, either because you just, didn't quite do it right, or because Trico didn't leave you any helmets, you're going to have to pet Trico in order to calm him down. That's the only time in the game where that is true. Any time after that, when Trico is angry, just call his name like a bunch, and it'll calm him down. It's the same as petting, it's just faster because you don't have to climb onto him. So here, go ahead and call Trico. He's going to look up. As soon as he starts flapping his wings, you can just jump right towards him. Don't wait for him to jump, or you're going to be too late. Just pay attention to him flapping his wings there. And that prevents you from having to do the puzzle where you climb up his tail. So we don't need Trico for any of this. There's no sense in calling him. He's not going to be joining us. Because this is another easy reset. Again, walk all the way to the edge, wait for the boy to stumble like that, and then you can go ahead and reset. So now Trico is here with us. This is very hard to pull off. Don't worry if you can't do it. A lot of it is chance. It's not necessarily your fault that you can't do it, you know? So we're going to try to climb on Trico as soon as he comes down and get to his back as fast as possible. He's being good-ish so far in that he's not really jumping around. And so once you're on his back, you want to hop over to this pillar, as I did. He was actually very cooperative. I would not typically expect for it to go that way. I would normally expect, you know, for him to be throwing me around and hopping all over the place. But this way we can climb up without him and then just, you know, keep going while he finishes off that fight. If that doesn't work for you, then just wait for Trico to finish the fight, and then, you know, you can even use the barrel that's down there to position him in the way that you want to get up there. Or you can just kind of hang out on Trico's back until he walks close to a pillar. Any of those pillars, I do believe, will be able to get you to that ledge. You just might have to do a little bit more climbing. But essentially, it's easier and faster to hop up onto those pillars than it is to try to position Trico so that you can use his head or whatever to get straight up onto that platform. That's much more challenging. And again, as soon as this lever comes down, this is another easy reset. As soon as the lever comes down and the door starts to open, you can go ahead and reset. That's going to call Trico to us, and he will now have already triggered the pressure plate thing, which he obviously didn't the last time. So he's hanging out over there. We just didn't bother to take a minute and look at him. See, Trico's over here. His tail is stuck underneath this gate. So we're going to just pull the gate real quick. His tail's free as soon as he stands up. It doesn't actually matter if his tail is still under the door. As soon as he stands up, he's free. So it's not like by dropping the door you're gonna, you know, re-pin him. He's free. So we'll head back to him as fast as we can because we want him to stay on this side of the hallway for a while. We don't want him to be going down the hall. So we want to just head back to him quickly. Just, you know, make sure he stays down here, make sure he takes care of all these soldiers before we move on. Alright, looks like all the soldiers are dead. That's good, so now he can start heading down this hallway, and we're gonna head down there with him. Hopefully he just comes shooting over my head here in a second. Hi, buddy. There he is. Alright, so here's an example of how we can calm him down by just calling him. Just call him a ton. He's really angry right now and the game wants you to pet him, but just keep calling him. And you'll see, yep, he's already calmed down. Alright, so we're going to get him to follow us in here. This is going to be one of the puzzles as far as speed tech that I do think that everybody should try. If it's just you can't get it to work for you, you know, then leave this for later. You don't necessarily need this in order to get a good time, but it does really help if it's something that makes sense to you to be able to do. So we're going to call Trico in here. Now watch his feet. When he takes this step with his left foot to stand next to this pillar, we're going to run forward so that he stands there. Now, petting Trico will cause him to sit down, so we're going to pet him once to get him to sit down just to make sure he doesn't move anymore. And we're going to get up onto his head, pet him again, get him to sit down. Now, he should, well, he's not quite doing it, but there we go. Once he's sat down like that, he's going to start looking around like you just saw, and he lifted his head such that we could climb onto this pillar. And from that pillar, hop to the middle of these stairs and you skip the entire puzzle that will let you get commands for him. The key to that puzzle is petting Trico and making sure that he sits down so that he'll lift his head up. Because if you don't pet him, you know, if you just let him stand there, he'll either walk away and you won't be in a place where you can finish the puzzle anymore, or he just won't ever lift his head high enough. Because when Trico is standing, you know, completely on all fours, he doesn't tend to lift his head up when you're on his head. He'll lower his head instead. But when he's sitting down, he doesn't have that same problem. So we want to make sure that he sits down so that he'll lift his head up like that. So now we have commands. You can see that Trico is not immediately doing what I told him to do. That's okay. That's going to probably be one of the things that saves you the most time, is understanding that when you give Trico a command, give him a second. If you start just, you know, commanding him willy-nilly, he's going to get confused. So give him a command, give him a second to see, you know, if he's understood it, if he's going to do it. And then if he's clearly not going to do it, sure, you can give it to him again. Another note about that command skip that we just did, where we got on Trico's head after petting him and then hopped over to the stairs. It's kind of likely that it might not work for you on your first time, because not all of the stairs are grabbable. You know, the boy might just jump over and not grab anything. If that happens to you and Trico has already walked away, you can just feel free to reset the checkpoint. That's completely fine. It'll just start you over again and you can have another chance. So in both of these rooms that have this armor with the lights coming out of their face, if you just jump the boy straight down to the floor, and then as soon as he hits the floor you reset, obviously like you see, you'll just be down here and you don't have to worry about climbing down on your own, you know, finding a safe way down. So there's only 2 guards in this room. That means the fight is done because we saw both of them explode. So we're just going to spam call Trico to get him to calm down. And you see he's angry at the helmets, not the armor, right? Hey, buddy. So we want him to go that way. He gets confused pretty often in this room, so we'll see if he understood what I just said. He did not. So we're going to give him a command again. Pay attention to Trico's body language. You'll see his head mapping to the location that you want to go if he has understood what you're saying. So I knew that he understood there because he lifted his head up to look at the place that he was about to be. And that means that his AI has understood, you know, this is a place that I can interact with, so I'm going to go there. If Trico did not understand you, he'll look around, he'll kind of vocally complain a little bit, he might lower his ears, things like that. There are a lot of visual cues that he will give you to indicate whether he did or didn't understand your command. So again, this is going to be one of those rooms with the armor, with the lights coming out of their face. So we are just going to hop down and just splat right onto the ground. Now, in this particular puzzle, we want to land down here. There is actually this walkway down here. Some people don't know that it exists. And we'll run all the way to the end, grab up here, and you see this light coming from this soldier. It vanishes. It's not gone. give it a second because it's just that the game doesn't display it. You can see that it came back there. So just because it's gone doesn't mean that it's safe to hop up. You need to actually give it a little while for the armor to rotate a little bit more before it's safe for you to come up. And if you do it sort of in that cadence, you'll have just enough time for Trico to get through before these guys wake up. Alright, Trico's focused on the other one, so I'm going to help him out with this. Alright, so all the enemies are dead. We're going to calm him down. Good. Now, onward. And he just completely knocked me off, but that's okay. And then he sat on me. Way to go, dude. He might hop down before we're completely up here. We'll see. Thanks, buddy. So here we're going to use the thing that I talked about before where you can just hold X to drop. We're going to hold X, let go of X, and that'll cause the boy to grab again, and then hold X to drop. That way we don't take the fall damage, but, you know, we still drop relatively quickly. As soon as this dips over the edge and you can't see it anymore, right there, we're going to go ahead and restart, because Trico is, you know, still up on his back legs, and it takes a long time for him to hop down, look at you, and then start to come towards you. So if we just go by when the eyeball disappears, that's a safe time to reset. Now you see Trico has a spear in him. It does matter how many spears he has, but for right now, we're not really going to worry about it. We're just going to focus on telling Trico to jump, telling him, you know, go to this platform, get us out of this puzzle. Sometimes he might solve this puzzle by himself. If you ever see Trico, you know, gearing up to do a jump, let him do it. You know, you don't always need to give him a command. The next platform is off to our left, so face yourself to the left and he should see it and understand your command. Where am I? I'm somewhere, I hope. Next one's off to the right. Trico typically sees it on his own. So see, I didn't have to give Trico a command there. When he understands where he's supposed to go, it's best not to interrupt him. So Trico's going to go ahead, push through this grate. It's going to move us a little bit, but it's not going to, like, pull us off or anything. Now, as soon as we're in here, the place that we want to go is actually straight above us. Trico didn't really seem to understand, so we can give him that command again, and then you saw his head seeking out the place that we just told him to go, so we know that he understood, and we can just sort of leave him to it. Head up to his head at this point, because he's going to struggle to hold on up here. And while he's working on that, we can be on his head and then hop off. So for this section, you actually can hop all the way over to here. You see this pillar So we have the torch to the right. That's where the lever is that we're trying to get to. But this pillar down below us, we're going to try to land on the top of it. And we didn't. That's okay. That's, you know, essentially how it happens all the time. Sometimes you miss it, sometimes you don't. Because you're not supposed to land on it. If you do happen to land on the top of it, that's great. You'll prevent this fall damage that I just took. But as you can see, you know, if you take it, not that big of a deal. Just kind of hang around here until the boy gets his act together, and then we can progress. It's always worth trying because you have to fall anyway, so you might as well try to land on top of the pillar. Alright, so we'll drop this. Don't need it right now. And then we'll grab this and just chuck it anywhere. Doesn't matter. Hit Trico in the head with it if you like. And then just hop down to the ground. Splat. As soon as you splat, you can restart. That's going to do multiple things. It's going to prevent you from taking fall damage, because we're going to be just fine. And then it's also going to move this food barrel much closer to where we want it to be, so that you don't have to pick it up and carry it yourself. So now we just kind of hang on, wait for Trico. Don't call him here because, as you can see, he's already kind of focused in on what he needs to do. We don't really want to distract him. Camera's going to swing toward Trico. And then under we go. As for this axle, it's faster to push it than to pull it. I know that I said that pulling is usually better, but in this case it's faster and easier to push it. So don't worry about what Trico's doing right now. He might be getting it high enough, but we're never going to get there in time. He is going to stop no matter what, so that's not your fault. You're not going too slow if Trico stops. He's always going to stop. So we're going to get kind of on the left-hand-ish side of this to make sure that when we push it, we don't get stuck over in this corner on the left. So as you can see, Trico let go of it. As soon as he stands over towards us, we're going to call him, and we're going to give him the X command. That's R1 and X together. That's scolding Trico. That's telling him, hey, stop it. And that will stop him from charging his head into this gate. And then the command that I just gave him was R1 circle, which is interact with or you know, grab. It corresponds to the boy's grab button. And that should, if Trico isn't a little bit of a dingleberry, get him to go back to his bucket over there. So as soon as he starts playing with it, we're just going to push this constantly. Don't stop, or you'll never get the momentum that you need when he does open it. Just consistently push it. Alright, here comes the big pull. And we're good to go. So Trico, no matter what, is going to go and look at this thing. There's nothing that we can do about it. He loves this thing. The best thing that we can do is just kind of keep standing here, you know, walking around in his face, being like, hey, please pay attention. You know, might do some zigzags, might run away from him for a little bit. Anything we can try to do to get his attention. I've done a lot of testing on this, and as far as I can see, there's no real way to get him away from this any faster than what he wants. But there he comes. So we're going to need to be on Trico for this next section. So we're going to hop up onto him. You can see that he already kind of knows where he wants to go, but he's going to stop and sit down. So once we get on him, we can go ahead and ask him to go. Might take him a little bit, but then we'll hop up to here before he comes up so that we can grab this helmet. Now we're going to go ahead and just kind of wait for him. The power from his feet would knock us down and knock this helmet out of our hands if we didn't step out of the way. So that's why we kind of waited in that alcove. Now, since we had that helmet, we were able to move during the cutscene in order to get closer to this mirror. You know, this eyeball mirror. And break it before the cutscene is over. So again, when Trico hops up, well, preferably before Trico hops up, if you can make it, hop over to here, grab one of the helmets, and then wait in that alcove for Trico to come by. Otherwise, he'll knock the helmet out of your hands. And that way you can move during the cutscene. So we'll hop up on Trico and call him to get his attention. Again, we can hop up here without Trico if we want. You can also wait for Trico, that's perfectly fine. You know, you can ride his back up to there and then hop off of him once he's made the jump. That's up to you. And kind of up to what seems to be faster at the moment, you know. So we'll keep calling Trico, because we want him to be as close as possible. As you push this thing off, the right hand most rail is not going to break, so that's a safe place to stand. So we're trying to get Trico to hop across here. If it helps you, like with the camera being confusing, if it helps you to look straight at it and point, that's also fine. He'll understand. As long as the boy is pointing in the direction of where you want him to go, that's fine. Some people just get a little bit confused, you know, if they're looking one way and pointing another. So it is fine if you look at where Trico wants to jump instead of at Trico. Don't try to grab his tail. Just wait until this triggers. You can see he's going to take a step forward, and then he kind of popped a little bit. You might have to rewatch that to see that exact animation, but he kind of has a clip in his animation. That's how you can tell that he's ready to catch you. Or, you know, you can just wait for probably about 10 seconds just to be sure that he's ready. But if you happen to notice that clip, you'll know that it's safe. It just sort of seems like he skips a couple frames. That's how you can spot it. So that's going to roll down by itself. Technically you can push it and it'll go a little bit faster, but we don't need to do that. So as that eyeball gets further away, Trico is going to be willing to get closer and closer. That's why I'm continuing to call him. As soon as he turns around, he's good to catch you. As soon as he turns to face you, you can jump. So as soon as you're on his tail, you can just push up to climb like as fast as you can. You're not going to make it all the way to his butt, but you're going to make it a pretty significant way. It doesn't matter where this thing goes, as long as you pick it up and just like chuck it. It doesn't matter if it still stays on the platform. It's out of the way, and that's all that we needed. So the goal now is to get in between Trico's wings, and we're just going to kind of hang out there once we get there. Right about here. You can be a little further up, that's fine. Essentially anywhere that's on the flat of his back where you're going to be able to stand. Because as soon as he's up here, we're going to be able to move, and we'll just hop off of him and continue without him while we're watching this cutscene. So again, we're going to run up here and wait for the boy to wobble on the edge. That shows you that it's safe for a reset. Technically, you can solve this without resetting for Trico here. But you see this guy in the back with the spear? He would have a sword if Trico weren't here. So we call Trico to us to give him a spear because then, as you can see, he just completely walks out of the way to go after Trico instead of us. And since he's ignoring us, we can get up here without any problem. If you didn't reset there, you would have had to lure him away because he would be chasing you. And then, you know, find the time to get up here. So we'll go ahead and head across this. Trico's going to be taking care of those soldiers in the meantime. Not really much we can do to help. And then off to the left, we don't need to go down the ladder, we can just hop down. That's not enough to take fall damage. By this point, Trico is usually done with the fight. If he's not, he's just finishing it up. And we can call him and calm him down. Wow, Trico just didn't even bother to try this time. He's kind of stuck. Sometimes that happens. I am going to go over here and assist him. The way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to get caught. Okay, so you can see here, we're actually going to restart from the checkpoint. That's going to take us a fair ways back. To where we dropped off this mirror. That might happen to you. If you're going to speedrun this consistently, it will happen to you at some point where Trico just gets stuck. In that case, he kind of just got caught in the wall and wasn't able to come forward. That's actually the first time I've ever had him stuck there, but having him stuck in general is not super rare. So, you know, you can try to get him to come forward, but if it just seems like he is just cycling the same movement over and over again, you really don't have an option but to reset. Which is why we did that. So, fight's over, Trico's calmed down. He's going to come out here, and he's going to look at this eyeball. There's nothing we can do to speed that up. We have to let him go and get mad and everything. But there is an issue that you could run into here. The infinite loop, as it is often called. So see, Trico runs forward, he gets angry, and then he backs up. When you're giving Trico commands to get you up there, if you're not careful about how you give him that command, he'll take a step forward, and then he'll get angry, and then back up. And then you give him the command, and he'll take a step forward, and then get angry, and back up. And it's an infinite thing. So, to make sure that that doesn't happen, make sure that when you give him the command to go up here, you're pointing directly sideways. That will encourage him to not take the step forward, but instead to just pivot like he just did, completely sideways. You want to avoid that step forward whenever possible, so that he doesn't trigger himself on the eye again. so we can go ahead and drop off this chain. Give this just a second. It doesn't need as much time as you think it does. So Trico's, he's over there. He's chilling. He's upset at this eyeball. And he's not going to do anything until we get rid of it. This eyeball is always solved in the same way. Nothing about it ever changes. Make sure when you go over, to these sections where you have to drop down again, you only tap the drop button. You don't hold it. If you hold it, the boy will not grab again, and you'll just fall to your death. So make sure you just very gently tap it, just enough for the boy to start his animation that he's crouching down. Be careful of the camera turn here. It's going to kind of cinematically turn to the side. It can make it easy to walk off the edge. So we'll call Trico, get his attention, and then as soon as he is looking at us instead of down at the eyeball, we're good to give him the command to go forward. Forward being, over there to that pillar. And we'll give him just a second. He did understand, so we just need to wait for him. As you can see, sometimes Trico can be a little bit of a booger about going for these jumps. But again, if you just pay attention to his body language, if you give him a second to respond and then he doesn't, you'll be able to recognize when you need to give him a second command. When he didn't understand. And you see he's turning his head a little bit to the side to look back at me. He's doing that because he's awaiting a command. That's his body language saying, I don't know what to do next, please tell me what to do. So if he does that to you, it's essentially safe to tell him what to do without worrying about overloading him or confusing him. As soon as that thing is off, we can call him, run down to about this jug, wait for him to stand up again, and then you can run towards him to climb on. If you run towards him sooner than that, you'll likely just get kicked off the platform. A lot of times, if you try to run toward Trico, after his foot has gone through the platform, but before he stands up, his sort of stumbling around will knock you off of the platform, and you won't be able to get back up, and you'll die. Dying just means that you have to push the eyeball off again. It's not, super far back. But if you wait until Trico fully stands and then goes towards him, you're a lot less likely to die. So we'll get this little cutscene, nothing we can do about it.
Are you kidding?
I've got my milkshake over here on the side. I told you guys you should have a milkshake. Y'all should have a milkshake. Alright, so in here we've got this guy. Try to run up the right side of the stairs as much as possible, kind of on the flat non-stairs part of the right side of the stairs. Don't get too close to the edge or the boy's gonna, wobble and slow down. So it's a very fine process, but try to run as far to the right as possible, and then you'll be able to get around that guy without getting caught. If you do get caught, not a big deal. Just get yourself out of it and then hop across. But I did just want to demonstrate that there is a way to do it without getting caught. Be careful, if you can, to avoid those two guys that I just ran past that had spears. If you happen to touch one of them, it will focus them on you. Right now they're focused on Trico, on throwing spears at Trico, but they will focus on you if you touch them. And if you touch them, because they're focused on you, they'll come in here and be waiting for you right here in front of this door. So try to avoid touching them. You can go behind this guy and actually hit the shove button, which is square, to zip past behind him. Alright, we are going to take fewer risks here, which means we're going to take the safer path. Speedrunners will take the path that breaks. We will intentionally walk across the path that breaks. But even, I've been doing this run for a long time, and I still regularly will fall to my death at that point, so that's not something that we want to have in a Lightning Emissary run if we can help it. So we'll call Trico. He doesn't know we're over here, so we do need to call him in order to alert him to come and help us. Speedrunners, you can drop down on him a little bit earlier. You can sort of meet him as he's coming and you'll land on his head. But it's risky because the timing is very precise, and if you do it wrong, you will fall to your death and have to do the entire platforming section with the scaffolding again. It's a lot of time loss for a very risky strategy, so that's why it's not in here. So we don't need to wait for Trico at all. We could just go ahead and he'll catch up. Call him once if you want. It's not actually really going to make a difference. So we're going to swing around, grab this train cart, mine cart, whatever. We don't need it right now, but since this is downhill, it'll kind of, solve itself if we just get it that far. I'll just hop straight down in here. Trico is going to be sitting and waiting for a barrel, and he won't move until he gets it. So that's why we're going and getting this barrel. And it's also, why we didn't wait for Trico. He's just going to sit down anyway. So for my next trick, I will be hopping up here. Right here, this big box in front of me, or this square rock in front of me, we can actually hop straight up onto it with this barrel. It's not the way you're supposed to do it, but we're not going to be throwing it across all these platforms, which is, the normal way you would solve this. So instead, position yourself right about here, and then just keep pushing the boy forward. Eventually, he will hook his foot up onto it. If he doesn't seem to want to do it, start tossing the camera around. Because the camera will help with this trick. So you see, I wanted to take that slowly so that you could see where his foot comes up, so that you know whereabouts to aim as far as trying to get him to lift up there. So I kind of ran, multiple places and multiple camera angles to show you guys show you all what works. That's called a barrel skip. We're going to be doing one more. Same principle. We're going to step up onto something that is not really how you're supposed to solve the puzzle. But of course, you know, if you're having a hard time with that, if you just can't seem to get it to work, there is certainly no shame in solving the puzzle the intended way, by throwing the barrel from platform to platform. Because in the end, what's going to get you through this game in the fastest time is doing things that you know you can do. You know, there's no sense in trying to do something that you're just really having a hard time with. You're going to spend more time doing that. So if you really can't get that skip, you know, don't worry about it. Do the regular puzzle. We have so much time to work with. Like, you're going to come so far ahead of Lightning Emissary if you do even half of these things. So if you can't get all of them, you know, don't stress yourself out about it. Remember that there are holes in the floor. Be careful not to fall. It's easiest for me if I look almost straight down so that I can see them. Gonna wedge ourselves all the way back in this corner because Trico needs to basically be as far back here as we can get him. This jump is really hard for him to make. Even if you know what you're doing and you give him the right commands, it's still very hard for him to understand. So we're going to try to get him to step as far back into this corner as possible. He might take a step backwards. That's pretty normal. So we'll get up onto him. And once we are in the middle of his back, we'll give him the jump command. So you see he is looking around. That's good. That means that he does understand. He's going to try to wedge himself into this wall. And while he is doing that, we're going to take out some of these spears. Mostly I would just like to be off Trico. Alright. So getting Trico to come over here will get his attention. He is upset for some reason, so we'll calm him down. And then just get him to go forward. And he will be so kind as to push that bridge down for us. You don't need to tell him to jump. Just forward is enough to get him to push this bridge down. Now, in this particular situation, I know that I said, you know, just give Trico a second to understand your commands. In this particular situation, just spam trying to get him to go forward, because he's really hesitant about doing it, and you just really need him to listen, so. So we'll trigger this cutscene. Somehow I ended up down there. Alright, so we'll calm him down again by calling him a bunch. And then get his attention focused on going over there. He heard the other Trico, that's what upset him. So that's why we needed to calm him down before he would listen. If you are brave, you can try this. I will show it just, you know, so that you have the choice. Stand on Trico's head, and as he turns here, you can actually stand up and jump down to this rope. If you don't feel confident that you have good aim with that, I would not try it, because it's very finicky. Depending on which side of the rope you fall on, how far down the rope you fall, determines what checkpoint you trigger. So if you know, didn't fall exactly where you needed to fall, your checkpoint is going to be all the way back on that drawbridge. It's quite a ways back. It's pretty risky, so if you don't feel confident that you can do that, just go ahead and climb down Trico's tail. But I did just want to show it off in case it was something that you felt that you should try. Now, in this particular section, and whenever you climb ropes, if you want to do these jumping hops, that's totally fine. There has been some testing indicating that these are faster than just the regular climbing, so that's basically just mashing triangle to get you up there just a little bit faster. We'll head over to the right, not all the way to the right because that little thing is sticking out right here. And that way we're close to where we need to be. As a general rule, walking or balancing, shimmying, whatever, is faster than the hanging variant. So if you're on a rope, walking across with your arms out is faster than hanging from the rope and, you know, climbing your way across. If you're on a narrow ledge, being up on the ledge and shimmying is faster than being down on the ledge and using your arms. As soon as this falls off, as soon as this thing comes off the top, we can go ahead and restart. We restart that checkpoint because Trico was not on the right pillar, so we would have had to wait for him to jump back across. But if we restarted, not only was he on the correct pillar, but he was also ready to jump. That saves us a lot of time. So see, he understood. I just needed to give him a minute. That's an example of, you know, paying attention to Trico's body language. Seeing that his head was looking at where he needed to go, and then just giving him a little bit to actually do it. We do want to be on his head for this section. He's going to take that first jump, which he already did, and then this next jump is the reason we want to be on his head. He's going to land up here and be unable to get up for a couple seconds right when he first hops up. So instead of, you know, flip-flopping around and waiting for him to finish that, we'll just hop off and be on our merry way. Because there's an eyeball up there, and that's going to freak him out, so by being on his head, we can already start to solve this puzzle without having to wait for him. So now all of this is going to go essentially exactly as you expect. You know, we're going to do this the way that you're supposed to. This is going to break. We're going to fall. Trico's going to catch us. So while this is happening, let's talk a little bit about how Trico works, right? Trico as an AI is essentially just a program where if you say, you know, go jump over to this thing, he's just a program that then looks around his environment and says, which of these surfaces fulfill the requirement can jump to. We're going to hang on for just a second, make sure that he's actually ready to catch us. Push forward towards him to make sure that he catches you. Don't just fall straight down. I'll get back to my comment about Trico here in a minute. Continue pushing forward. Don't stop pushing forward. That way you can just grab his tail. So anyway, if you tell Trico, you know, jump to this place, as an AI, he looks around his environment and he says which places fulfill the criteria can jump to. You know. So the reason that you can give him a command and then he takes a little while to follow it is because, like you just saw with his head, I said, go forward, make forward progress. And his head is telling me that his AI has located a place that checks the yes box for, can I do this? And so that's why we pay attention to his body language. But the reason that sometimes it takes him so long is because, you know, just because his head has found something doesn't mean that the rest of his body is actually in a position to do it. He has a specific animation for jumping, and he needs to line up the rest of his animated frame to begin that animation. So a lot of times we're paying attention to Trico's head for understanding, you know, his AI components, and then waiting on Trico's body to follow suit. Because he needs to get his body in position to complete what it is that he's trying to do. So that's why I say, give Trico a command, give him a second, pay attention to his body language, see if he has located something in the environment that fulfills the request that you're giving, and pay attention to what that might be. Because sometimes there's more than one thing, right? Sometimes you might give Trico a command to jump, and he's looking in the environment, and the thing that he notices is where you just were. You don't want to go backwards. So you can see from Trico's, you know, his facial expression, his ears, all of that, that he has located a place that can fulfill your command, but it's not the place that you want to be because of where he's looking and his body language. So paying attention to all that can give you some hints about, you know, what's happening and how to best control him. If you see him going in a direction you don't want him to go, if you see him, in other words, misunderstanding your commands, you can just give him that X button command that tells him to stop. That X button command will not always work, but it's worth trying. You can also just like spam call his name. I understand Trico's not his name, it's his species. Yeah, I get it. But some more notes on Trico body language. If his ears are down, like if he flattens his ears when you give him a command, that means he did not understand. That means that he's confused, and he can be confused in two ways. He can be confused if you've given him too many commands and he doesn't know which one you want him to do. Or he can be confused if you gave him, for example, a jump command and he searched the environment and didn't find anything that his AI thinks is jumpable. So if you see him flatten his ears, just give him a second, and then give him the command again. Try to be a little more specific. Either, you know, make sure you're using the right command, the command that you actually want him to do, or, you know, make sure that you are pointing to the place that you want him to go. So Trico always has two things that he'll do here. He'll try to grab for me, and then he'll, you know, try to leap over onto the wall and grab me with his mouth, which won't work, and then he'll go back, try to grab for me some more, and then jump up. And so I'm spam calling him because I want to make sure that he doesn't lose interest in me. That's certainly happened to me before, where he just sort of gives up and hops down to the floor, and then we have to reset, so I keep calling him to make sure that he stays focused on me. Alright, so he goes up. I'm going to show you how to do vine skip. I don't necessarily recommend it. I often fail it in speedruns, but it's kind of cool, you know, so might as well show it off. So in order to do vine skip, which is going to avoid having to just ride Trico down, which is certainly a very viable way, and in fact the way I would probably recommend to solve this puzzle, we go over here, and then we just hop down and onto these vines. So that was actually a first try vine skip. That was very nice. It does not always work that way, and we'll talk about that more in a minute, but for now, barrel skip number 2. Same principle as before. You know, you're normally supposed to take this up there, throw it across, grab it, throw it across here, grab it, throw it across there, grab it, and then throw it across there. Instead, see this long pillar? Just walk right up it and over into this crevice. This one is a little bit harder than the first one. Angle your camera down and just keep trying. And there we go. So now we'll just hop over here and grab this, and the puzzle is done. Now as for vine skip, right? The game has an idea of how far you have to fall in order to die. And vine skip is essentially right at that distance. So a lot of the time you'll trigger a death by trying to get that skip, which is why I don't necessarily recommend that you do it, because a death is going to have you do this climbing up the tail from the trees section again, and that's annoying and long. So my suggestion would be, you know, just to ride Trico down. It doesn't take that much longer. But vine skip is there if you would like to try it. After you give Trico this barrel, you do not need to give him more commands. He knows where to go, and Trico knowing where to go is a blessing, so don't mess with it. So you can see I'm not giving him any commands. He knows these next couple jumps. I think because, you know, the programmers weren't confident that people would know where to go, so they just made sure that Trico automatically did this. So Trico's going to make one more jump, and then it's going to get to the point where we need to tell him what to do. He won't auto jump after that. So he's going to go up to here. We want him to get up onto this platform. So see, he can see it, which is good. That indicates he's probably going to understand us when we tell him to jump to it. And Trico will give you hints like that. At this point, if you're just playing for Lightning Emissary or a speedrun, you know, you've probably played this game enough that you don't need hints about where to go. But at least, you know, for first-time players or casual players, Trico moving his head like that is, you know, meant to be a hint that he might know where to go. He's making a suggestion, basically. We'll get up onto his head, and then wait for him to turn his head, because he's going to be looking at these angry guys over here. And from his head, we can go ahead and hop down, and, you know, miss. That's fine. We were gonna grab the climbable bit there. That was how that was supposed to happen, but I'll do it in an even safer way this time that will ensure that we get it. But, you know, as you can see, deaths are, you know, sort of common. Kind of happens. Alright, Trico's gonna turn his head. To avoid doing what I just did, jump into this corner. I was trying to go just a little bit further ahead, because, you know, I'm a speedrunner at heart. But For maximum safety, to avoid that death that I just took, jump into that corner. It'll help to kill your momentum and it'll make sure that the boy grabs. Be careful on this platform. This one, the very end of it doesn't actually exist. It has textures, but it doesn't have collision. So, you know, like I was just saying. It has textures, but it doesn't have collision, so a lot of the time you can actually run to the end of it and then slip through it and fall to your death. Which is kind of what just happened. I compensated for it a little too hard and jumped a little too early. But essentially just, you know, be careful. And I'm not particularly concerned about the deaths. I'm, in fact, you know, glad to show you what is happening and what could happen and how you can fix it, you know? Because it doesn't really help if I do everything perfectly. And despite those deaths, we'll still get an alright time. So once we hop in here, we're gonna go straight to those guys with those shield mirrors. I'll juke that guy a little bit. Charge into one guy, get up, charge into the second guy. Once both mirrors are down, it doesn't matter if someone else picks them up. Trico will come over as long as you call him. Try not to stand out in that window because Trico really likes to kick during this section. And it's super common, like he just kicked there, it's super common for him to kick you out the window. It'd be helpful, buddy, if you turned around. Thank you. So, in the speedrun community, this is what we call pacifist Trico. Pacifist Trico is when Trico doesn't actually kill anybody, he just knocks them down. It's gonna cost you a little bit of time, but in the end, it's fine. There's nothing you can do about it. Good job, Trico. Thank you. Alright, so that's everybody. Trico's now just going to be really angry at their helmets. So we'll get him to calm down by, you know, calling him a ton. Hey, buddy. And we'll wait for him over here. As you can see, you can give commands to Trico both when you're on him and when you're on the ground. So that's going to be entirely up to you. It's going to depend, you know, what is most convenient at that particular time. For this part, you can just face forward and tell him to jump. I know that you can't really see where you're trying to go, but just facing forward and telling him to jump is fine. And then once he hears that, he'll automatically turn you to the direction you need to be, which is toward, you know, these other platforms. And actually, he's making this jump by himself. He doesn't always do that, but he will sometimes. I know that it may be your inclination to want to pet Trico and get all that blood off of him, because if you rub Trico where he's bloody, the blood will go away. So it can be people's inclination, you know, to want to pet him while he's walking. But don't do that, because as we learned during command skip, petting will make him sit down. And if you pet him for long enough, he'll go to sleep. And naturally, we don't really want that. As for that gate, as soon as Trico starts to go through it, you're free to lower it. Like, I know that it feels bad to lower it onto his back, but, you know, for the sake of the speedrun, he's through it at that point, and you can just go ahead and let it go. You don't need to wait for him to make it all the way through, you know? So there was a little ridge, not sure if you saw, where once we pushed that thing up over it, it didn't roll backwards. So push it just to there. That's all the further you need it to go. And then you can get up onto his head and you can see you can make it up here. Landing on Trico here is kind of like the worst case scenario, because it's hard to get off of him, as you just saw. Kind of just wanted to land on the ground, but that's okay. Now, this puzzle coming up, I'm sure that people who have played this game before will recognize as something that I don't think that I've ever really met somebody who was like, yeah, I really liked this puzzle. This is a thorn in the side of many, many players. But I will do my best to show you how to make it as consistent as possible. There's definitely still some randomness to it, but we will try to make it consistent. So number one, gonna go over to this box, and push it into the water. So now here's where, you know, it sort of comes into play, like I was talking before, that we wanna pull things instead of push them. We have so much more control over this box if we're pulling it. So we're gonna pull it back into this corner. You can definitely turn the camera if you want, if that makes it easier for you to aim at where you're going. We're gonna pull it back here, not quite all the way over, you know, to this pillar, but pretty close. Get on top of it and start to call Trico, because we want him to be walking around essentially right above us, which means we want to be standing here, you know, calling him so that he wanders around like, where do I hear that voice from? The pillars, why can't I English? I know English. The planks above our heads are the ones that we're trying to get him to break. And it really is chance. He thankfully broke them just there. So as soon as that happens, we can hop over here and keep calling Trico, you know, start to get him turned around in the other direction, because now we need his butt over there instead of his head. So we can stand over here, and you can see there's this hole that he can see us through. So we're going to stand over here and call him so that his tail falls through the hole. Now, little speedrunner secret here, look away from him for a minute and call him. As you can see, that assisted in his tail coming down. I think it has something to do with, you know, the game and the way that it renders his tail when you're not looking versus when you are looking, but it does help if you occasionally glance away from him. And then he's going to yank you up through here, try to make sure that you don't get stuck on those, you know, bars as you come up. Otherwise it'll pull you off of his tail. And then we can get his attention, and we want him to jump in this direction, toward the rest of those, like, unused buckets. So that's the direction you want him to be jumping. Then from here, he should make the second jump backwards, if you just sort of vaguely tell him to jump. If you do get pulled off of Trico's tail in the water puzzle, just reset. Don't try to get his tail back down the same way that you got it the first time. Just reset the puzzle. Alright, so again, we're gonna pull instead of push, just because we have better control. Trico's out there fighting an enemy. There's no particular rush to do this because we're gonna be done way before him. So we can go ahead and place this up here. This is essentially the second of only 2 times in the game we actually get that place command. So you don't have to throw it up here, you can just go up and place it using the square button. And then as you can see, Trico is still, he hasn't even recognized yet that he's hungry. So we are certainly well ahead of him. What are you doing with your leg, dude? So he's gonna do his little happy dance. I'll just have to chill and wait for him to do that. Alright, that's the hole we want him to go through. So we'll kind of point him in that general direction and start climbing him while he does that. If you are missing the trophy for having Trico stick his head through holes, these are probably the holes you're missing. These ones on the bottom. There's 3 on each side. They're kind of easy to not think about because Trico hasn't stuck his head in a hole for a while, so you tend to forget about it. Try to run down the middle of this, just so that the boy doesn't, you know, hesitate like he's on an edge and slow down. Trico's gonna set you down here, and then after this little cutscene thing, he's gonna try to pick you up. I recommend that you run towards him and do not let him do that. It's very cute, and I really like it, but a lot of the times when he picks you up and throws you onto his back, the boy will just bounce off and you'll fall to your death, so that's why I recommend that that doesn't come into play in your run. So we want to get Trico a little bit closer to us before we start this fight, just so that he's actually ready to participate. And of course, first order of business is going to be taking care of this guy. Trico's not going to fight for as long as these mirrors are around. If possible, it wasn't for me, which is fine. You can grab that mirror and actually throw it like you would a helmet and it'll break. But I'm actually going to let this guy hold me. since there was no one else to pick up the mirror for him. Alright, well, we got one guy left who Trico is seeming rather unwilling to kill. Buddy, I'm gonna need you to actually kill this guy, okay? Alright, well, I got him, that's fine. So again, we'll calm Trico down. All the enemies are dead. Alright, so he's calm. We want him to pay attention to this thing, so we're going to give him one single command of interact with that. And then just give him a minute. For safety, it's going to be best if you pull this catapult so that the entire thing is in the light. You don't need to pull it that far, but that is certainly the safest in case Trico accidentally, you know, taps it around a little bit. Alright, so we'll tell him to interact with that. You don't necessarily have to tell him that. If he's already, you know, all the way at the end of it and looking like he wants to play with it, don't mess with that. He is really rotating this. We'll see if I just splat against the ceiling. Okay, we're fine. So he's gonna put you, if you put the catapult there, he's gonna put you closest to the door that you want to open, which is gonna be this one. To give you some perspective, that door is in this location compared to the one way that doesn't have a door. Just wanted to show you that in case you got a little turned around. It's the one that doesn't have the bar on the end here, as you can see, because we want to get Trico coming up to us this way. As soon as you see Trico pop out over there, you don't have to wait for him to hop up. He's going to be working on that on his own. So instead, we're going to be opening this door next. This door is the one across from the one that doesn't have a gate. It's the one that has, well, I guess you can't see it, but before I opened it, it had some vines on it. That's another way to notice which one it is. So the only one that we don't open is this one, which is to the right of this gateless door. So we'll just chill here, you know, wait for Trico to eventually find us. So the place that we want Trico to go is, you know, essentially right up to there. So I pointed him in that direction before I got up on him so he could start to work on that. If you need the trophy for Trico poops, I would suggest running in here and not looking back at him for a little while. Like, go and mess with this barrel that's back here and don't look at him. Because sometimes he tends to poop here. This is where we want him to go. You can tell by the broken rubble on the ground. So that's whereabouts we want to be standing to give him the jump command. Stay on his back instead of his head, just because it's a little bit easier. And then you can just, well, you know, he kind of intercepted me with his face, so I was gonna say you can just hop straight down to the water, but sometimes Trico can be a little bit of a troll. Don't call Trico. Wait until after you pull the lever to call Trico. That will make sure that he's more in a position that you want him to be in. Now I can call him. And I'll wait a little bit here after calling him a couple times. That should time it just so that he comes down, you know, right as I'm coming out here. Then you can just meet his back as it comes up and immediately get him going in this direction. You don't have to worry about pointing like down, up, whatever. Just point in this vague direction of the lever that you just opened and he'll get it. So as you come up here, again, do not call Trico, because Trico is going to be heading to the location that we need him to be in order to solve this puzzle. So we don't want to distract him from that. We just want to head over and start doing our portion. Okay, so as soon as we're here, we can call Trico. He should be up on his island by now. And obviously he's going to hop in the water and create this water wave that will take us up. So don't worry about looking at Trico, you know, just focus on going forward here to make sure that that wave hits you in a good way. As soon as you can, start calling Trico so that he doesn't swim away. And now you can, you know, spam call him to make sure that he stays near you. And again, don't worry about where you're pointing besides just in the vague direction of the lever you just opened. You can always find it because it's very bright, very orange because of that torch. So just point over in that general area and he will get the idea. Alright, so we are entering the section of the game that is essentially defined by Cage Puzzle. We're going to be heading to Cage Puzzle after we deal with the encounter with the enemy Trico. Cage Puzzle is challenging. Even for experienced runners, Cage Puzzle, you know, can really take a toll on runs. So I will tell you everything I know about Cage Puzzle. I will try to, you know, give you as many tips as I can for how to make it go your way, but you have to understand that in the end, it's physics RNG, and it's Trico RNG. How he pushes you, how the cage reacts to the things that it touches, all of that is not in your control. So the best you can do is just understand how the puzzle works and understand what you can do to make the puzzle behave more in your favor. I say this to let you know, like, don't beat yourself up if this doesn't go well for you. It's more than likely not your fault. And, you know, very good runs of this game can still feature a really bad cage puzzle. So don't get discouraged. Don't feel like, you know, you just ruined everything because you didn't get a very good cage puzzle. lots of vine climbing here. Not much you can do to optimize this except for, you know, just know where you're going. You don't actually need to climb her tail. If you're confident, you can just hop over and grab those leaves. You can also climb her tail, you know, if that makes you feel safer. It doesn't cost that much time. Now this is going to be different. Drop yourself down using X. Hop over to the side. She's probably going to hit you, but that's okay. Just, you know, stay out of her vague area. And eventually, you will find yourself in this hole. This prevents you from having to climb up the tree and across the rope. That is a very, very large time save, so I would suggest that you try to do this. If you find that she is just really beating you around, you can't seem to get around her, and she's gotten you, you know, really far from that crevice, just reset. It'll take you back to where you can try that again. You can jump across without using her head, but there's really no reason to, because worst case scenario, she comes in right when you're on that platform and she knocks you off. But best case scenario, she still has to stick her head through that first hole. She won't automatically go to the second one. So there's no reason, you know, to speed up ahead of her. It's just all risk and no reward. You can hop off before you're at the end if you want to avoid a couple of those very cautious steps. Now you don't need to do anything here. She's gonna bat you around and nothing matters. Like, you can just let her do it. So she's gonna go away. The narrator is gonna say, it seems like I waited for an eternity, so the game is going to make you wait, you know, for an eternity. Moving the cage, not moving the cage, doesn't matter. I mean, you might as well roll around in the cage just to sort of practice how it works. But it doesn't actually matter. Now let me tell you a little bit about this cage. Walking in the middle, right where this big band is, right here, does not mean that the cage is going to roll perfectly in the center. So in order to get it to roll straight, you need to alternate going this way and this way, so that when you roll it, you're doing this. You see how I'm going in a straight line? Basically, I mean, I'm on a hill, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate, but you need to go back and forth in order to make it go straight. And if you want to make a turn, if you see an obstacle coming up that you need to get the cage around, move to the opposite side of the cage sooner than you think you need to. Because it takes longer than you think for the cage to start moving in that direction. You can see that it actually went straight for quite a bit longer than it seems like it should have. See how long this is going in a straight line before it starts to curve to the left? So if you see an obstacle upcoming, make sure that you're moving to the opposite side of the cage as soon as you notice that obstacle, basically. And of course, you can always correct. You know, if you think that suddenly you're going too far to one side, just immediately get over to the other side. It's a balancing act, you know? I am intentionally going to get stuck if Trico gives me a good cage puzzle. We'll see if he gives me a good cage puzzle to start with. But if he does give me a good cage puzzle, I will intentionally get stuck to show you how to get unstuck. Doesn't matter where we put the cage here, but I am going to tell you that putting the cage essentially right here is where you want to be. You want to kind of wedge it between this green patch on the right and the fall off here on the left. Want to wedge it in there, and we want to call Trico, get him down here, because we're going to need his assistance. Two easiest places to get stuck are over in this left-hand corner, sort of by that moss, and getting one side of the cage stuck on that pillar on the right. So those are going to be kind of the two things that we're watching out for. Now Trico's going to want to sniff around, do all sorts of stuff here. And we want to try to keep his attention as much as possible. We're not really going to be able to keep his attention too much. So we're just going to spam call Trico. He's going to come over, want to be petted. So here he's going to start his little sniffing. While he does that, I'm going to try to maneuver this cage such that it's a little flatter against this wall. Now you can see the technique that I'm doing here is what's going to get you out of trouble. Running in a circle. That actually helps to tilt one side of the cage. And that's how we're going to get out of trouble. It's a little bit counterintuitive almost. You'll see once we get stuck. People find that different things work for them in this situation. I find that pushing forward tends to get Trico's attention the best, but we'll see. Alright, so Trico's got me up here. That's actually an alright setup, but I am going to go get us stuck in this corner. Alright, so you can see, I can't move forward anymore. We don't want to get into the trap of Trico pushing us. Like, we want Trico to push us once, which he's already done. If Trico keeps pushing us, he's just going to keep spinning the cage around in all sorts of crazy configurations. We want to solve this by ourselves. Now, it would seem logical, right, that you would back up as straight as you could and then spin to the right further to get away from this wall, but that's not actually how we're going to do it. In order to get yourself unstuck, you need to turn the cage while you're backing up, not while you're going forward. So in order to turn the cage while we're backing up, I'm actually going to go down this way and then move over here like this. And that's going to take multiple attempts, and Trico is going to be a booger and get in the way. But that's how you get unstuck. Trico actually kind of borfed us again. This is the worst case scenario, having the end of the cage facing, you know, where you want to go. So again, unfortunately I can't rotate the camera to show you what I'm doing. But again, in order to fix that, I actually went the opposite direction. I pushed the cage in the opposite direction of where I needed to be. Like, if I want to go left to fix my problem, I need to actually take the cage to the right first. It's difficult to explain when you're watching it and when, you know, you're just hearing it, but when you're playing it, if you think about it that way, I promise it'll make more sense. It's just, it's counterintuitive is what I'm saying. Like, if you're trying something and it's not working for you, try doing the opposite of what you're doing, and it will probably work a little bit better. So if you're trying to go to the right, try going to the left first. Because otherwise, if you just keep backing up straight and then trying to turn further, you're just going to keep doing the same thing over and over again, and you're never gonna actually achieve any more turn than you originally had. You need to go in the opposite direction for a little while in order to give yourself, you know, more of the turn angle that you need. Okay, and this is actually a great example of a horrible cage placement, which is good because that gives me the opportunity to show you what to do. If you are ever behind this cage, that is not good. Because the cage doesn't particularly have a lot of room to roll back here. And as you can see, it doesn't even really want to roll. And it's going to get stuck on that wall. So again, we're going to roll it in the opposite direction of where we think we need to go. And then roll it. And we've solved our problem. Because when we were back on that wall, we needed to make a sharper right turn. Go listen to this explanation and then go back into the video and watch. We needed to make a sharper right turn because we were stuck. In order to fix that, if you watch what I did, I went to the left side of the cage and went backwards to the left in order to make a sharper right turn. So that's what I mean about doing the opposite of what you think you need to do. This skip is really cool. It's one of my favorite skips in the game. You may or may not have known about it. We're going to wait for that guy to come on out, and then we're going to grab his barrel. Let's stare at him until he starts casting his ninjutsu stuff. And if we just walk over here, right next to this pile of rocks, we can just hop straight up. It's kind of a barrel skip, a la the 2 barrel skips we've already done, where the boy, you know, steps up onto something he's not supposed to be able to step on. But this one is much simpler. It doesn't really have anything to do with camera or anything. You just walk over to it, and you'll step up onto it. That prevents you from having to lure that guy around, from having to, you know, throw the barrel up there, any of that nonsense. So you can see there for a minute I was stuck in a seam on Trico. That's why I wasn't moving. Just shifting my position ever so slightly to the right got me around that seam so that I could start climbing again. Trico's head was in the way. I just gave the point forward command. That was all I did. You just couldn't see me is all. So see, a lot of people, right? If they give Trico the point forward command, and like he just did, he started walking the opposite direction, they would have given him another command, and that would have confused him. So I keep saying it, and I can't stress it enough, give him a little while. He might just need to turn around, he might just need to sort of orient himself a little better, but he does understand. Trico as an AI is actually phenomenally smart. He is very, very good. Give him some credit, you know? Like, he will do what you ask him to do. So see, again, I waited for body language. It looked like he understood, but then he started to look back at me and vocalize. That's him saying, please give me a command. So that tells me that my first command didn't stick, and I needed to give it again. So again, I'm watching his head. And he does seem to, you know, be understanding of where he's supposed to go. He's not giving me any body language that says that he needs help. So I'm just gonna let him do that. And it worked because he made the jump just fine. But now, yep, he's still fine. Alright, as soon as we get up here, we are gonna be heading forward as fast as we can. This is another great opportunity to spam this command, because as you can see, Trico is just standing here. And he often does this where he, you know, stands and sits and stands and sits. So just don't give up. Just keep pushing him. He'll go. Worst case scenario, if this does keep happening to you, actually come over here like this. And then Trico will follow, and then you can, you know, tell him to get up here at this point. I am stuck in a seam again. So that was just a straight up jump. That means that Trico was not able to find anything that fulfilled, you know, the criteria can jump to, so he just did a straight up jump. He still listened to me, it just wasn't quite what I wanted. And so again, we'll get him to jump up here. Once he's up here, I found it to be a bit easier to hop down and just call him over here than it is to, you know, point him in this direction. You can see White Tower over here. I usually go right about to the end of this fence. And from there he tends to understand me when I say, you know, go this way. Now, a lot of this section, Trico definitely understands he can do this by himself. So, I typically don't give him any commands here. Again, it's a part of the game that I think the developers realized people are not really going to be clear on where they're supposed to go, so Trico's kind of just pre-programmed to do this himself. So we'll hop down off Trico and just get around these little puzzles. Coming up here, we're going to get a very long cutscene. This is going to be the section that I was talking about earlier that is great for taking a break. So if you need to stand up, you know, get a drink. There's a bug on my window. Go to the bathroom. You know, I usually let the dog out. Any of those things, this is going to be a great time to do it. We're going to be coming up here on the second cage. And it has a very long unskippable cutscene. So that's going to give you some time. I believe you have about 2 minutes, which is actually a lot longer than you think it is if you're just trying to do some real quick, real life stuff. So, I will be stepping away during it because I've been sitting for a while and I need to stretch my legs. Don't worry about calling Trico here because we are going to do a reset. Again, just like always, we're going to run up, wait for the boy to wobble, and then that'll trigger the checkpoint. So now Trico is already right here at the cage. If you hop down, these armors are obviously gonna you know, go after you. Keep calling Trico. Dodge these guys. Trico will come down pretty quickly. And then if you just sort of vaguely wait by this cage, you know, by where the antenna is, you'll be golden for Trico to just grab you real quick. So he's gonna launch, then we're gonna get some cutscenes, we're gonna skip the one that is skippable, and then it's gonna go into this long unskippable one. I am gonna step away, and then I will be back before it's over.
Trico.
Alright, so we're gonna skip this one. Don't leave yet, because there is actually a loading screen. Wait for the actual cutscene to start. There's a loading screen that you have to dismiss. One of these. Alright, now you can leave, and so I'm gonna step away for a second. Just stretch real quick.
Ayurabo, Oti Ukaya, Anetu Tara, Ate de Keda Lozi, Adatu, Onozi, Awo Kuku. O Mara Genara Woso, Inaku Bastizi, Awizi.
Alright, I am back. Just as this cutscene is about to be coming to an end. Now, one thing that I haven't mentioned so far that might bear some mentioning It's not super easy to control. It's kind of just something to keep in mind. But really, you know, it's a very minor thing. The boy does actually have longer and shorter, for lack of a better word, flop animations. So when the boy jumps, sometimes he'll jump all the way onto the top of something and just like step up. That's great. The longest animation he has is the one where he hits it with his chest and then his feet like flop around for a second to try to climb up. In the end, you know, it's about a second different. But where possible, you know, try to just angle your jumps such that you're jumping really high onto something so that you try not to get that flop. Trico is obviously, you know, very happy behind us. So this time, go ahead, hop down into the cage, and then do a restart once again. So that way Trico is down in here with you. You can just generally point him forward and give him a little bit of time to figure this out. This can be a little bit challenging for him, so be patient. So now we'll go over here, and again we'll use this drop method on the ladders, where we hold X, let go, hold X. Letting go is what allows the boy to grab onto the ladder again. And we do want him to grab on, because if he falls that entire distance, he's going to take fall damage, you know? And then we're going to be hobbling around. Unfortunately, there is no reset to pull Trico closer to us here, so we do just have to wait. Trico's gonna stick his head through. Keep tapping the X button here because the boy will like drop, but then he'll grab onto that ledge again. So just keep tapping it to make sure. Drop this on the ground. As soon as that touches the ground, you are good to checkpoint reset. And that will pull Trico to right outside, so you don't have to wait for him to yank his head back out of the other hole. He's coming. We just gotta give him a minute here. Probably. Yeah, he's coming. So we can get this open for him. As soon as he pops his head through like that, you're good to run up to him and trigger this cutscene. Now we're going to be coming up onto where White Tower Skip happens. White Tower Skip is a very challenging speedrun tech. It saves a lot of time, but I would argue, and I think that most runners would agree, that White Tower is by far the hardest thing that you do in the entire speedrun. I strongly, strongly recommend that anybody who is either just starting with the Last Guardian speedrun or who is just trying to get Lightning Emissary does not attempt White Tower Skip. If you leave one thing out of your run, leave White Tower Skip. It is very time consuming to fail, and it is almost guaranteed that you will fail at least once. So just leave it out. It's fine. Your run will be fine. Your time will be fine, I promise. Like, sub 330. You're talking runners who get in the 320s for Last Guardian, which is anything sub 330 is a really, really solid time for this game. There are runners like Karekusa who do not do White Tower Skip and still get sub 330. You do not need it. Trico will essentially always be pacifist here. He has a really hard time killing these guys, so you're probably gonna have to help him. He's still got one more guy back here. There we go. So we'll calm him down, and he's gonna shout at the White Tower over here. But while he's doing that, we can get up on him. Now, White Tower Skip works. Let me just explain how and why it works, even though we're not going to do it. You see how the scaffolding down there makes a whole bunch of V shapes? White Tower Skip essentially puts you inside one of those Vs, and then you climb up one side of the V and onto the beam above it that the two sides of the V are connecting to. And from there, you hop up again, and you'll be on the top of the bridge. That's important because over there, where those eyeballs are, we're actually going to be below the bridge, and so we want to be on the top. That's how White Tower Skip works. It sounds so much easier than it is, though, because the game obviously doesn't want you to be in that area. It's not really programmed for you to be on those beams. So it's very hard to get the boy onto those beams. It's hard to get him to grab the beam above, you know, all of that. And that's why White Tower Skip is challenging. But on the bright side, it's called White Tower Skip because you don't have to actually do any of the White Tower, which we are going to do because I'm going to show you how to do it. So I'll give you, you know, just a brief overview of White Tower. But if you get to the point in your speedrun where White Tower is the thing that you're going to add next to be competitive, then get in touch with me, get in touch with, you know, any of the runners, the Discord, anything. We will teach you how to do it. But, you know, that's a whole, you know, half an hour or more video. White Tower Skip is essentially getting into that V there, climbing up the V, getting onto the horizontal beam above that, and then jumping up again to get on the bridge. As you can see, I did not make it. That's very common. So we're just going to be solving this the normal way, which I highly suggest that you do as well. I know that when I ran The Last Guardian at GDQ, Frame Fatales, for my commentator who had never seen this game before, I did actually make a guide on like how the White Tower Skip works because I was doing it in that run. And my guide for my runner, or for my commentator, on how the White Tower Skip worked was like 25 minutes. So that's not really something that we particularly have time for, you know, right now. I want to show all of you times that you could get that are still good despite, you know, not doing all of this tech. So I don't mind getting, you know, a slower time than I would normally get, but we don't need an extra 25 minutes of me explaining a trick that I highly discourage you from doing. And like I said, if you want to speedrun this game, if you want to get super competitive in this game, come into the Discord, you know, hit me up on Twitch. I stream this game all the time. And I will teach you how to do the White Tower skip. But it's just, you know, kind of a moot point at this particular time, you know. These platforms are very slippery. Be very careful of the edges, because when I say that they're slippery, I mean that the boy doesn't have his normal wobble animation when you get to the edge. You know, a lot of times when the boy's about to step off of something, he will kind of wiggle and be like, whoo, real quick, to let you know, hey, I'm about to fall, maybe you shouldn't be so close. Some of these platforms do not have that, so the boy will literally just dart right off the end. So be very careful. Be cognizant of jumping just a little bit before the very edge of the platform to make sure that you don't accidentally fall. Hang close to the building here. Obviously the shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line, so don't make your line here any longer than it has to be. So as soon as you push these eyeballs off, I tend to push the one on the right, but it really doesn't matter, whichever one you feel more comfortable with. As soon as you push this eyeball off, start heading back toward the bridge. Matter of fact, I'm going to turn my camera a little bit here so that makes that a little bit easier. So this is going off, and I'm going to go back to the bridge as much as possible. I'm going to get as close to these enemies as possible, because the less distance they have to travel to come get me, the faster we're going to be done with this. I do not recommend trying to climb around on Trico during this section before you actually have control of the boy. In a lot of cutscenes in this game, for some reason, when the cutscene is still playing, the controls for the boy are inverted. So you might actually end up in a much worse position by trying to get a little bit ahead. Be careful as you hop around these. The boy will bounce off of the wall if he touches it a little bit, and that can bounce you away from this path such that you just fall and die. So be a little bit careful. Try not to cut things too close. Take jumps only if you feel they're clean. I would say this is probably the most common death point in the run for me. I usually die in this section at least once, because these platforms are so narrow. You can jump straight down to Trico's head. Some speedrunners will do that. Some speedrunners think it's too risky. I kind of tend to agree, even though I will still try to do it pretty often. So you see I've landed on Trico's leg. Climb sideways. You cannot climb from Trico's leg onto his body when it's folded up like that. You have to, you know, because there's a seam. You have to go around his leg and onto his hip. So this is the jump that I'm talking about. Be careful, because there's not really very much space to land, and the wall will kind of bop you away and make you fall to your death. So when Trico has his leg out like that, that means he's ready to catch you. You're good to go, as far as jumping is concerned. You don't need to push any buttons here for him to catch you the second time. He'll just automatically catch you.
Atisakyak yetu ninav atorikono agiane hediro yo agatu ian ihetu nezuna arakulo kutiu otiana lisoma kyura letu arake.
Alright. Where are you taking me, buddy? Thank you. I've never had him pick me up like that before. So we'll head up the stairs over here and get him going. I am somewhere for sure. Alright. So we'll get him to go this way, towards this roof. We do not want him to be going over across here and such. We want him to just go straight over this way and towards this roof. And again, you know, give him a minute. He's lined up. It's clear from his body language he understands what he needs to do. He's just... he was just taking his time. Sometimes Trico will fly for you there, sometimes he will just hop. Either way is fine. You know, Trico sort of just has a mind of his own. Now, at this point, Trico has a lot of spears in him. So I'm going to give him the command. He didn't really understand it, but that's okay. I gave him the command that I wanted, but he didn't really listen. Which, like I said, is fine. I'm going to go and remove some of these spears. The reason is because coming up, he is about to be peppered with spears. And the game is going to do its first and only, like, story critical spear check. So in other words, the game is going to check how many spears Trico has in him. If he has a certain number or fewer, the game will let you progress. If he has more than that, you'll have to pull them out before you can progress. So we want to make sure at this point that Trico is free of spears so that we have the best chance of just progressing without needing to worry about it. Once Trico is oriented to go down in here, you can actually climb down onto his leg. And you'll see why here in just a second. As soon as he hops down, because we're on his leg, we're going to be very close to the ground. And when we're close to the ground like that, we are actually going to let go so that we can start, doing what we need to do while he's fighting. The camera is stuck, which is not super uncommon. You only need to push this past this little thingy on the bridge, that thick metal bar. That is far enough for it to fall. And then after that, we can go ahead, hop down onto this bridge. Trico's already here waiting for us, and the cutscene will trigger. I'm going to show you the speedrun strategies for this fight, but I'm going to show them to you a little slower, because in their fastest form they are very risky. There is a very high chance of death, and some of the deaths put you in a really disadvantageous position, because the checkpoints will actually move you to a much worse spot during this fight. So for that reason, I'll still teach you ways to make this fight faster, but we won't do it quite as fast as it is possible to do it, because it's so risky. Alright, so we're going to hop down, try to land on the female Trico's butt, and try to get to her tail before the cutscene with the armors starts. It's going to show them getting ready to throw spears. Keep pulling during this cutscene. Alright, so her tail is in there. We're good to go. Just hang out in here. Don't, run too far forward. Now, here's where piece of speed tech number 1 really comes into play. Don't jump down to them. Go over to this corner, which is across from where you just were, and keep just mashing the drop button. And you'll fall down into here. This is already at the top of the chain that you're supposed to climb. So we've skipped that whole climbing section, and that's where it actually would take you if you died. That's why it's so risky. Piece of speed tech number 2. As soon as you have an opening, jump. Jump toward the far side of Trico's back. So you'll already be down here by the time that this cutscene starts. It's important that you jump toward the middle of Trico's back and not towards his legs or anything, because Trico isn't actually grabbable right now, so the boy is just going to land on him. And if he just lands on Trico and he lands on his arms or whatever, he's just going to slip off and die. So you need to make sure that you land close to Trico's back so that the boy doesn't, just fall off. Pull the spear out if we can, just to avoid the spear check like I was talking about earlier. I do not currently see any spears. We'll see how this treats us. So you can go ahead and pet Trico. That'll make him barf up the mirror. So we're gonna shoot this. You can also climb on it to make it fall down, but that triggers it triggers this cutscene, but it also can sometimes injure the boy, so we don't really want to do that. So we'll shoot it like that. We also, that was just right over there. That's where we just shot, to give you perspective. So aim it where it just was, to the left and up. You can see that. We want to blow that up. That is an enemy that we would have to deal with later. And instead we're going to blow them up now. You can find this because it's over by the chain, so that you know sort of where everything is. If you're looking for the trophy for balancing 2 barrels on top of each other, this is one of the good places. The other good place, as suggested to me by some of my fellow, interested in the Last Guardian people, is the very beginning of the game, where you have those 3 barrels for Trico. But I personally typically get the stacked barrels trophy here, because it's a nice patch of flat ground. Make sure when you jump off of here that you land on Trico. That's going to prevent you from getting injured. So Trico takes a long time to eat these barrels. For that reason, you don't need to have all of them like right next to his face, ready to eat. He has to eat them slowly and then put his head down, like in between. So there's no real rush. Now, the phrase we are looking for is for the boy to say, "Hold on, Trico, I'll pull it out." He did not say that so far, which means that we passed the spear check. That means that Trico is free of enough spears that we can just progress. If you are playing and the boy says, "Hold on, Trico, I'll pull it out," you can give Trico all of these barrels and it won't progress. So you're going to have to pull spears out in order to make the cutscene trigger. The problem with that is that sometimes the game thinks that there are spears in a place that you can pull, but actually, they're hidden in a place that you can't reach. So if the boy says, "Hold on, Trico, I'll pull it out," it's important that you go and look at Trico right then to see if you see spears. If you don't see spears, reset the checkpoint immediately, because otherwise you're just giving Trico 4 barrels and wasting time for nothing. If you reset the checkpoint, it's going to reset the locations of the spears, and then you'll be able to pull them out. So see, we got the cutscene to trigger just fine because we had been attentive about spears before we came into this fight.
Atamisetunin ite harakastu aweze.
So Pink Sky is essentially the end of the game. We're coming up to, the last couple things that we need to do here. If you're under 3 hours at this point, you are looking pretty good. If you're under 3 hours at this point, there's essentially no way that you can't get the Lightning Emissary trophy. So we're going to tell Trico to jump. and he's gonna figure out, you know, where that is. There's actually quite a lot of wiggle room as far as telling him where to jump. You can see that I didn't even point like in the right direction or anything, and he still understood, so. So you can see this is where that soldier would have been, but because we blasted him when we were down below, he's not there now and we don't need to deal with him. So Trico's going to be working on making this jump. I'm actually surprised that he did this as quickly as he did. Usually he does a couple little twirlies, spins around a couple times. So there is going to be an enemy on the next platform. And so we'll need to take care of him. I suggest hopping off of Trico to take care of him, just so that you're not, you know, bobbing around as much. Where am I? Alright. Well, you know, I was going to remove that, but actually, no. Because we want to be on Trico's head, and we need time to get up there before he jumps, so. We want to be on Trico's head because we're about to hop off of Trico's head once he makes this jump. He always looks in the wrong direction for this one, so don't let that throw you off. So once we're up here, maybe. There we go. We will hop up here. Call Trico. Call him a couple times before looking at him. Okay, this is actually ideal. Trico is stuck. I kind of wanted that to happen because I want to show you how to fix it. If Trico is facing his butt towards you at this point, if you point the mirror towards this, he will never shoot. His face needs to be pointed towards you during this section. I don't know why. So point the mirror just like over here. Get him to lift his tail up, and then call him again. And you can see now he's willing to turn around. So that's how you fix him of being broken in that spot. It's only here that he will not shoot if he's not facing you. So I'm kind of glad that happened so I could show you what to do. So what I will say about this section is try to get as many of these mirrors as you can. You are likely not going to be able to get all of them if you haven't practiced this section quite a bit. But try to get as many as you can. If you don't get a couple, that's fine. You'll be able to get them later. But it is nice to not be able to, or not have to worry about them. The ones over on the right here are most important, particularly the one that I'm shooting. If you have to choose just one, did that not explode? Okay. If you have to choose just one to hit, choose the one that I just hit. Because that's the one that's going to keep you from progressing. The other ones you'll be able to get later when you're up on this bridge. You can see Trico is stepping closer to me with every shot. That's why doing this is dangerous. So again, if you feel as though you are running close on time or you don't want to take very many risks, shoot only the important one that I mentioned earlier and leave these for later. Because it's definitely possible that Trico will like take a step forward and sort of punch you off of this piece of rock. In which case, you would have to start completely over again with all of those mirrors. So, yeah, just get that one that was on the right-hand tower but lower, if you have to only choose one. Because that's the one Trico's going to see as soon as he hops up here. You can see that it's just like right there. So. There will of course be one over there, we can't quite see it yet, that we can't get because like I just said, we can't really see it. So we're going to be getting that one right now. Because it's easier to get it now than if you're trying to shoot from Trico's back on these pillars. Just make sure that you line up the shot with it quickly because as you can see, I can't actually see where my mirror is shooting. So that's not super uncommon, what you just saw happen, where Trico's tail lightning like very obviously hits it, but it doesn't explode. I've never in my life had it happen twice though, so that's a first. But always pay attention to make sure that these things explode for this reason. So Trico understands these jumps. He knows about these jumps. You don't need to tell him what to do. If you'd like, you can make your way to his head to get ready to hop off of him when he hops down here. You don't have to. You can just hop off from his back. Wherever you have a place that you're standing flat is fine. So we don't want to take him inside this tower, we want to take him around the outside, up on these, like torch things. So make sure that you stop before going inside the tower, or else Trico's going to follow you and it's hard to get him out of there. After he's up here, he knows where he's going, so you can actually just leave him be. Try to aim for the middle of these gargoyles. They have a little bit of a finicky hitbox. So a lot of this is, you know, pretty self-explanatory. We're doing some platforming, we're solving some puzzles, Trico is hanging out waiting for us. I'm going to get him to go forward, and I'll give him that command before I climb him just so that he has something to work on, you know, while I'm working on this. Doesn't matter where you are for this because he's going to sort of flounder once he hits the other side, and it's always going to knock you onto his back, so It does not matter. So you can see these platforms getting narrower and narrower, right? It's really important that you are careful how many commands you give Trico, that you're giving him the commands you intend to give, or else he's going to get really confused in these tight spaces. So if you give him a command to jump, either wait until he jumps unsuccessfully or wait until he turns back to look at you, waiting for a command before you give him another one. Or else he's going to get really confused, and in this tiny space, it's very hard to get him, you know, unconfused. Got some soldiers coming up. They are across there. You can see them in the little platforms. So that's going to make Trico angry. We're going to treat this like a normal armor fight where he's going to have to be calmed down afterwards. He doesn't always have to be calmed down, but it's best to assume that he does need to be calmed down and start calling him as soon as he shoots this final lightning. And then we do just want to go straight across. This is actually an easy point to get a little bit lost, because it's easy to assume that you want to go back into this tower and do something over there. But actually, there's nothing over there. We just climbed this tower for the sake of going over to this tower. So it's a little bit easy to get turned around. You can see that Trico is actually backing up here. That's fine. Let him do that. That's another point where, you know, people are like, Trico isn't going the right direction. He's not listening to me. He is listening to you. He's just, you know, he's getting a wind up for making that big jump. So there's going to be one more armor that we weren't able to see from the front that's up here, ready to fight. It can be a little bit tricky to get him from Trico's head. So let Trico spin around. You want to stand a little bit back behind his horns. That's kind of the best place to stay steady. As you can see, I was a little bit too far forward, so I lost my balance. Once Trico has his wings out like this, he's steadied, you're very unlikely to fall. So don't, you know, don't adjust yourself at that point. So this next bit we can solve on our own. We don't need Trico. We're going to start building this big bridge that he's going to use to launch himself toward the White Tower. For this particular tower, you know, there's nothing special about it. There's no particular tech. Just go up, hit the lever, come back down. Because there's a bar in front of the lever, there's like a little cage thing. So we can't just walk out the front here. So that's one half of the bridge. And from here we can actually hop down onto Trico's face. Or, you know, normally we could. Physics got a little wonky there. That's why that didn't work. It's fine. We do have to do the entire bridge again, because that didn't work. The checkpoint is a little bit unforgiving, but it's not really that big of a deal. So that's always the risk you take in trying to basically interact with Trico at all, right? Sometimes the way Trico moves and the way the boy moves causes like physics to interact in such a way that something like that happens. It's unavoidable. Like you might not get it for a run, and then you might get it 5 times in one run. So don't beat yourself up about it if you take a stupid death like that. It's bound to happen at some point. But we didn't really lose much time, you know, a minute maybe. In the grand scheme of a couple hours, a minute is not that big of a deal. Alright, Trico, can you catch me this time, buddy? Well, I landed on his back, which is also fine. He can't see me, I'm just giving him this command to go forward. While he gives up for this, I'm actually going to take this spear out. We don't need to anymore, but I will. So this is the last obstacle we're going to face before we get to the White Tower. We're going to go up here and do the same thing that we just did. We're going to flip a switch to open up the rest of the bridge, and then he's going to use that bridge as one big runway. The difference is that this one doesn't have a gate in front of the lever. So, when we hit this lever, as soon as we hit this lever, we're going to try to squeak around the side of it and fall straight down out the window. With some luck, Trico will not just stare at us and walk away. He'll stand underneath us and catch us, so that we don't have to climb, you know, roundabout down the tower. So see, we'll go around the side here, and Trico will catch us. That doesn't always work, and there's nothing you can really do to make it work. It's just, you know, where Trico chooses to be at that time. Alright, so we're going to get Trico going this way, behind us, toward the White Tower. As soon as you have any indication that he has listened to you, do not give him another command. If you hear music, you're good. Just, like, leave him be. Like, even right now, he's fine. It looks like he's just completely confused and not listening. He's fine. I always get frame drops there. I think it's a little bit different for everybody. For me, that's just sort of where my PS4 gives me frame drops. So there is a rhyme or reason to this battle. And it depends on how confident you are, you know, with soldiers, with fighting, how you want to handle this. But this is how I handle it. Over here, these soldiers will not actually be able to approach you if you have the mirror. Hi, Trico. Could you get out of the way, buddy? If you're pointing the mirror at a soldier, he will, like, go down into that little turret position. He'll turtle up. You'll see it here with this guy. I didn't want to grab Trico's tail. I knew that was going to happen. I'm gonna wait for Trico to save me. It's a good way to encourage Trico to fight, to get caught on purpose. But anyway, guards will turtle up if they get real close to you, so use that to your advantage if you feel like somebody's about to catch you. That was just a sort of a poor example because the boy... Everything is mapped to the circle button, so the boy thought I wanted to grab Trico's tail when I was trying to use the mirror. But watch this guy coming close to me. You'll see that he'll turtle up, even though I'm not directly pointing the mirror at him. Alright, so we've got one guard left. That is perfect. When there's essentially one guard left, maybe two for Trico to deal with, come down here and stand in front of this door. Trico's gonna take care of this guy. Well, of course, not quite. He'll get it eventually. There we go. Now this door is gonna open. I do actually need to defend myself from this guy. Thanks, Trico. If you stand in front of that door and shine your mirror at the guy who comes out, he will drop his shield. The eyeball shield that makes Trico not fight. So that's a good way to make sure that that doesn't even become a factor in the battle. I'm going to turtle this guy up so he's a little bit easier to hit, but I'm actually going to aim for those two guys. I was hoping to blow both of them up, but oh well. Trico completely missed that dude, I feel like. Where did that guy go? All the way down there, of course. Alright, that should be everybody. Yeah, Trico already seems to be calm, so that seems to indicate that's everybody. That's important because this next skip will not work if soldiers remain alive. Believe me, I have done so much testing. I really want to believe that I can skip this, but you just can't. Don't call Trico. We actually want him to stay, you know, a fair distance behind us for this section. Go ahead and open up this door. We are going to jump through one of the holes in the floor so that we don't have to drag Trico's tail into a hole in order to get down below. It's much harder when Trico is in the room. So you're going to go stand right next to this thing and aim for the one that doesn't have, you know, webbing or whatever in it. Just jump straight through it and push forward. And then hopefully you will grab a hold. It is important to push forward, like constantly. As soon as you start jumping, push forward. And that'll encourage the boy to grab. Alright, we're going to grab this one to activate this guy. I'm actually going to go this way. Normally I would go the other way. But we are going to activate these guys. Shine the mirror, like, sort of next to them so that they come in a little further. You don't really want them standing near the door. It's easy to miss if they're standing there. Alright, so we got the first wave down, right? Might as well turn this one on while I'm here. We'll grab the head for this guy, throw it, and you'll have a little bit of extra time to run where it's not being, you know, yanked out of your hands. This guy's gonna catch me. Well, I actually would have preferred if he caught me, but that's okay. We'll live with it. I'm gonna try to get this on this guy. Nice. There are, you know, many ways to do this. So essentially, for this section, find one that works for you. Find a method of taking care of these guards that makes sense to you, and that you can do consistently. I know that we still have one guard left, but there's no reason not to be turning these on in the meantime, you know? Keep an eye out for where your doors are. You want to make sure that when these guys are following you, they have to go the shortest distance possible. I remembered that the closest way to Trico's tail was actually past that guy, instead of having him follow me. So just, you know, low-key keep track of things like that. So that was actually the trophy for, I believe, destroying 20 enemies with Trico's tail. I created a new profile just to show you all how we can get Lightning Emissary. So this profile has no trophies. Okay, as soon as this opens up, we are going to do one more reset that is very, very helpful. As soon as you have control of the boy again, as soon as you're standing in front of these things, go ahead and reset. It will actually take you up into the elevator, and that is a big time save because you don't have to climb Trico's tail. I'd say I have one more fight. This one's a big one. Again, I would say for this fight, just the same as the armors that we just dealt with, find a method that makes sense to you, speedrunners. Lightning Emissary people, I mean, you're just going to be doing your best and that's going to be fine. You are going to be very much fine with just finishing this fight at all, you know? You don't need to worry about how to make it perfect. Because honestly, you know, even speedrunners are going to look at this fight and have a different fight every time they do it. I really hope Trico protects me here, or at least gets the shot off before I get captured. Very nice. Getting those guys up on the terrace should kind of be your low-key, like, focus for this first piece of the fight. It should be something that you always kind of have on your mind. Where are those guys and can I shoot them from where I am? I'd rather not help Trico with this. Okay. That was why, because I wanted this guy to drop his mirror. So he is going to come from the door to the left of that mirror thingy, whatever this pillar thing is, you know? He's going to come from the door on the left. So, same as with the first fight, if you notice that there's only one armor left, you can go ahead and start heading toward that door in the hopes that you might be able to stop that guy from coming out with a mirror. But if you miss him, it's not a big deal. Losing their minds is for pulling heads off of either 10 or 20 suits of armor. Trico, buddy, I got him. I got him. It's fine. So again, there's going to be another one that comes out from the same spot. And there's going to be this one. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get to both of them, so your priority should always be to remove these people from the equation. Others will come and pick up these mirrors, so it's best to throw them and break them. Because if Trico sees those, it's not just a matter of, you know, he won't fight. You see, someone came over and picked this one up. It's not just a matter of how Trico won't fight when somebody's holding them. It's also that if Trico actively stops fighting because he's seen one of those, he'll be more pacifist for the rest of the run. Alright, that might have been everybody. indeed it was. As soon as everybody's dead, you can focus on getting this thing down. Speedrunners, if you are, particularly concerned about your times, try to goad Trico to not be in the middle of the arena by the time the final armor is dead, just so that he's not in the way of that thing. That's easier said than done, of course. But you can, for example, get yourself caught by an armor that is not close to the center to get Trico to move towards you and out of the center, so that has space to come down. We'll get Trico to hop up into these. Which ones you choose to hop to are not particularly important. There's multiple places in here where he can jump. So he'll just pick one, sort of based on where you were standing when you told him to jump. And after that, he'll take care of jumping on his own, so you don't need to worry about it. Can start to make your way toward his head. If you would like to try to, jump into that hole. I would recommend, though, that you stay on his back. And when he jumps over here, you're going to see on your right is this hole. My battery's low. We'll be fine. We'll finish before it dies. So it just depends on, when you want to try to jump into the hole. If you want to try to jump on it at the first opportunity, you want to be on his head. If you want to jump on it at the safer opportunity, you want to be on his back. As you likely figured out during your casual playthrough of this, do not, shrink this all the way into the master or it'll come out way too fast. You don't need to be super, super particular about getting it, really close. You'll have enough time if you stop it, just right there. As soon as this thing is slowing down, you can actually start to call Trico. You don't need to wait until it stops. The easiest way to tell if he's out is to, actually hold the look at Trico button, which is L1. And it will help you to see whether he's out. Trico is going to take the fastest way toward this place where he's going to trigger the cutscene, so it's always best to follow him. You can just go ahead and tell Trico to go. that is enough to trigger the next cutscene. So these things are falling down. Running towards Trico will trigger the next one. And obviously none of these scenes are skippable. You see if I pause, I don't have the option to skip, so you just kind of have to hang out. So as a reminder for all of you Lightning Emissary people, none of this is counting towards your time. So even though the real-time counter is still ticking for the speedrunners, Lightning Emissary people have their timer stopped. You can get through these guys a variety of ways. The safest way is to do what I just did, which is to go directly away from them, wait until they swing at you, and then go towards them. And for this bit, you can just hold on to the Trico. You don't need to worry about moving or anything. Don't worry about, putting yourself in a better spot. And as I said, at the very beginning of the video, this run was meant to show you that even without super advanced speed tech, even without, the really hard stuff that you can do in this run to save time, even with me just standing in one spot and explaining what's happening, with me taking intentional deaths to show you stuff, with me, intentionally getting myself stuck in cage puzzles to show you how to get out. Even despite all that, we're still going to come in at high 330s, low 3/4. That is a really, is a really solid time for the Last Guardian. So if you do what you saw in this guide, that's the sort of time that you can have, you know? You can have a really respectable time in the Last Guardian without doing really, really complicated stuff. And, you know, obviously for Lightning Emissary in particular, that's encouraging, I would hope, because, you know, that means that it's very achievable with very little practice. So I hope that all of you found this helpful. Of course, if you have any questions at all, let me know. I run this game a ton. This is one of my favorite speedruns that I have ever done, and that's why I run it so much. And at least at this particular moment, and it has been the case for probably about a year and a half now, I am definitely the most active runner of this, so if you have any questions, by all means, I am here to answer them. We're gonna hop down in here. Be careful not to, like, you know, hop all the way down to the bottom. You can gently come down if you're afraid of, you know, misjudging that jump. It can be tough to get this tail to go where you want it to go. Make sure if you're gonna let go that you're far enough in here that you won't fall. Grabbing by the bulb of the tail is usually a pretty solid way to get down in here. So timing is going to stop when we strike the Master of the Valley. It is not when we hit his cage. So speedrunners, if you break his cage and he doesn't, like, blorp out, the run is not done. See, he kind of went all wibbly wobbly, so that means that you hit the Master, not his cage. If you hit his cage but nothing happens to the Master, for speedrunners, time is still continuing. So we got a 340, essentially an even 340, you know? That's a really good time. That would be, I want to say that would be, I don't know, third or, no, it would be fourth place, I think. Pretty sure that would be fourth place. So you can get a really solid time in The Last Guardian by just understanding the game a little bit better, being confident about where you're going, and not overwhelming Trico. You can get Lightning Emissary. Like, this is, remember, this is a real-time run. Lightning Emissary people, your run is going to be even shorter than this. So you didn't even come close to hitting 4 hours, and you needed to hit 5 for Lightning Emissary. So, I mean, you can do it. You can do it. And as I said before, if you need help, I am totally here. I am all about helping people with this game. You can hit me up on YouTube, which is one of the locations this video will be posted. I'll also have it highlighted on Twitch. If you want to contact me on Twitch, you can whisper me, but it would be better to either, like, join my Discord and message me there, or message me on Twitter. Just because whispers don't send me notifications, you know? So, but yeah, I mean, by all means, get in touch about any questions you have, anything that I can, you know, explain, or even make a video to show you how to do something, you know, specific. I am happy to help people with this game, and I hope that you found this helpful, at least in some way. Hopefully something that was in here was in some way, you know, new to you, such that you learned something. I'm gonna skip this final cutscene. I know, it's adorable, and I love it, but we wanted to get to the end here so that you can see that we did earn Lightning Emissary. That is to be expected, and of course we get the other emissaries because those are for 5, 10, and 15 hours. And we will also get Though We Are Far Apart, which is the trophy for ending the game. I doubt that we got anything else. I really don't think that we got intensive care. No, certainly not, because we never even tried for anything like that. But if you're having trouble with trophies, having trouble with speedruns, anything, just get in touch. Like I said, my name's Sable Dragon Rook. You can call me Sable. And I hope that this was helpful. Stay safe, everybody. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Later.